Assalamu alaikum. Good evening. Greetings, everyone. You're listening to Zoya Khan from Expert Trainers Academy. If you're new here, let me introduce you about us. Expert Trainers Academy is world-renowned provider of safety training and ISO certifications, and its services are available all around the globe. We are authorized to offer courses for organizations such as OTH in United Kingdom, the European Safety Council, AOSH United Kingdom, Bharat Sevak Samaj, and India's Education Board of Vocational Training. We Expert Trainers Academy are committed in delivering the highest standard of health, safety, quality, and environmental training to develop a safer working environment.
So, why PPE is the last option of control measure? Because this PPE does not remove or eliminate the hazard. It's only going to protect you from the hazard. So, if you're using it, it's going to help you to protect you. So, personal protective equipment. And the last but one control measure is administrative control measure. The examples of administrative control measures are like carrying out risk assessment, carrying out inspection, carrying out safety audit, carrying out safety survey, safety tour, and then developing and implementing safe system of work or method of statement, HIRA, permit to work system, or safety signs, whatever it may be. If you follow them, if you carrying out, effectively, only then it's going to work. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Even if you carry out risk assessment, if it's not effective, or if it's not suitable and sufficient, or you're copying it from Google sources regarding the risk assessment for certain equipment which is already there in your workplace, that is not going to be suitable and sufficient. So that's why this administrative control, it's again depending on the people, and the PP is again depending on the employee. If he's going to wear it, it's going to protect him. Otherwise, it's not. So that is why this personal protective equipment and administrative control measures are the last options of control measures in the hierarchy of control. So with that, let us begin. Personal protective equipment. If you say it in inversion, equipment protecting person. So it only gives the individual protection. Again, it does not give collective protection. Like for example, if there is a hot atmosphere, you can provide cool refuge. That is an again engineering control, which is going to protect everyone. Let's say you're sitting in a room which is very hot. What you can do as engineering control, you can turn on your fan. That will give you some air circulation. Or else you can go for air conditioning systems. That's the engineering control, which is going to give protection for everybody. But whereas this personal protection equipment, PPE, it's going to give protection only for the individual who's wearing it. So that's another reason. It only provides individual protection. It's not a collective protection. That's other reason why it's at the least effective one. Personal protective equipment. Protecting employees for workplace hazard. Employer must protect employees from hazards such as from falling off objects, harmful substances, and noise exposures that can cause injury to their health. Employer must use all the feasible measures like engineering controls, substitution measures, and work practice controls to eliminate and reduce hazard. Use personal protective equipment if the controls don't eliminate the hazards. So the PP is the last level of control. Payment for PPE. The employer is ultimately responsible to provide suitable and appropriate PPE for the workers to protect themselves from the hazard. So when I say suitable and appropriate, it should be protecting from the hazard, and also it should be fitting properly for the individual who is going to wear it. So when PPE is required to protect employees, it must be provided by the employer at no cost. However, there is an exception for the safety toe footwear or the prescription safety spectacles or eyewear, everyday clothing, and weather-related gears. So these are some exceptions, but rest of all the personal protective clothing and equipment, it should be provided by the employer at no cost, charging from their employees. Engineering controls. If the work environment can be physically changed to prevent employee exposure to the potential hazard, then the hazard can be eliminated with an engineering control. If not, then we have to go with the PPE or administrative control measures. So some of the examples of engineering control includes initial design specification, isolation, barrication, change of process, enclose the process, isolate the process. These are some examples of engineering control. And I have asked a question, I believe some people have forgot it. Machine guarding, which control measure does it falls under? You can answer them in the chat box. Work practice control. If employees can change the way to do their work and exposure to the potential hazard is removed, then the hazard can be eliminated with the work practice control. Responsibilities. Employee responsibility. He must assess the workplace hazard, and he must also assess the risk level of the hazard. He must provide suitable and appropriate PPE for their workers, and he must determine when to use them. And he must also provide PPE training for all the employees using the PPE and instruction in proper use. Next, what are the employee responsibilities? You must use PPE in accordance with the training provided to them, and he must not tamper the PPE. Tampering means changing the original design or modification is being made. And he must inspect daily and maintain in a clean and reliable condition. If he identify any defects in the PPE, he must report it immediately to the supervisor and get it changed or replaced. So these are the employee responsibilities. And also one other employee responsibility, he must involve the employees to select the PPE. They must involve the employees in the selection process of PPE. That's kind of like consultation. See, also another question for the participants. What is the difference between consultation and informing? You can answer that question in the chat box. The difference between consulting and informing. Consultation and informing. Okay, moving on to the next slide. What are the examples of PPE? Body part protection. Eye, we have safety glasses and safety goggles. For the face, we have face shields. For the head protection, we have ODAX. For the feet, we have safety shoes. For the hands and arms, we have safety gloves. For the bodies, for the body protection, we have vest. And for hearing protection, we have earplug and earmuff. So these are the various PPEs that is available in the market today for the workers to use them and protect themselves from the hazard. PPE program. The PPE training program must include procedures for selecting, providing, and using PPE. So they must first assess the workplace to determine the hazards are present or likely to be present, which necessitate to use the PPE. After selecting the PPE, the employer is responsible to provide training to employees who are required to use them. The training, if employees are required to use the PPE, training must be provided to the employees, why it is necessary, why it is important to use them, how it's going to protect them, what are the limitations of PPE, and when and how to wear the PPE, how to identify signs of wear and tear, how to clean and disinfect the PPE, what is it used for, and how long the shelf life is, and how it's need to be disposed. So all this need to be given as the information during the training when it is going to be provided for their employees. Moving on to the next slide. Head protection, we have ODAC. Eye protection. When must eye protection be provided? When any of these hazards are present, like such as dust and other flying objects or particles such as metal shavings or sawdust that may come in contact with the eyes. Corrosive gases, vapors and liquids that might come in contact with the eyes. Molten metal that may splash into their eyes. Potentially infectious materials such as blood or hazardous liquid chemicals that may splash into the eyes of the employees. Intense light from welding and lasers. So these are the reasons why, we need to provide eye protection for the employees. Eye protection criteria, selection criteria. It must provide reliable protection against a specific hazard. It must be comfortable to wear. It must be compatible to use with the other PPE. It does not restrict vision or movement. It must be durable, easy to clean, easy to store, and disinfect. So it must not interfere with the function of other required PPEs. Like it must be compatible. Moving on to the next slide. Eye protection for employees who wear eyeglasses. Ordinary glasses do not provide the required protection. So the proper choice is that must be included. Prescription glasses with the side shields and protective lenses, or the goggles that can fit comfortably over the corrective glasses without disrupting the glasses. Goggles that can incorporate itself the corrective lenses mounted behind the protective lenses. Moving on to the next slide. Goggles. It protects the eyes and area around the eyes from impact, dust, and splashes. Some goggles can even fit over corrective lenses. Laser welding safety goggles. It protects the eyes of the wearer from intense concentration of light produced by lasers during the welding operations. Face shield, full face protection. It protects the face of the wearer from dust and splashes or sprays of hazardous liquid, but it does not protect from impact hazard. What the impact means, when it comes in, when any object that comes in it, the face shield, it may break. So wear the safety glasses or goggles underneath. Welding shields. It protects the eyes against the burns from radiant heat. It protects the face and eyes from flying sparks, metal spatter, and slag chips produced during welding, brazing, soldering, and cutting operation. So these are with the eye protection. When must hearing protection be provided? When the time weighted average of 8 hours, when the decibel level of the sound goes beyond 90 decibel A rating scale, so then the hearing protection equipment must be provided for the workers. Examples of hearing protection equipment: ear muff, ear plug, and sometimes kennel caps. Foot protection. When must foot protection be provided? When any of these are present, such as heavy objects such as barrels or tools that might roll onto or fall onto employees' feet, or when sharp objects fall onto employees' feet, molten metal that might splash on feet, odd or wet surfaces, or the slippery surfaces. For these are the reasons the employer must provide foot protection for their workers. Safety shoes. It must be impact resistant toes and heat resistant soles protect against odd surfaces, common in roofing and paving. Some have metal insoles to protect against puncture or wounds. May be electrically conductive for use in explosive atmosphere or non-conductive to protect from workplace electrical hazards. Moving on to the next slide. Hand protection, such as gloves, for example. When it must be provided, when any of this is present, such as burns, bruises, abrasions, when cuts, punctures, fractures, amputations, etc. Or when you're handling any chemical substances or biological substances, so then you must wear the gloves. So what kind of protective gloves are available? Durable, made of metal mesh, leather or canvas, fabric, chemical, and rubber gloves. It provides various protection like such as cuts, burns, dirt and abrasion, burns, irritation, dermatitis. Dermatitis, it's a medical terminology. Dermatologist, you might have heard. Derm means skin. Itis means inflammation. Inflammation means swellness. Inflammation means, again, swellness. Dermatitis, inflammation of the skin is nothing but. So when any chemical which is, irritant that might cause inflammation on the skin, so that is called dermatitis. Cuts, the rubber gloves protects from cuts, laceration, nothing but deep cut. Moving on to the next slide. The type of rubber gloves. We have nitrile gloves and butyl gloves. Butyl gloves provides the highest penetration resistance to gas or water vapors. Moving on to the next slide. Body protection. Major causes of body injuries from intense heat, splashes of any hot metals or liquids, impacts from the tools or machine operation, cuts, as exposure to hazardous chemical, and exposure to radiation. So these are the reasons why we need to wear overalls or full body protection. Body protection criteria. Provide protective clothing for parts of the body exposed to possible injury. What are the types of body protection? Vest, apron, jacket, coveralls, and full body suits. Summary of this topic. Employer must implement a PPE program where they assess the workplace for hazards and they cannot able to either eliminate or mitigate the risk level. So they must provide a suitable and appropriate PPE for all their workers without costing themselves. Inform employees why the PPE is necessary by providing information through the training. And they must monitor the employees or using the PPE while working. So these are the takeaways from this topic regarding the PPE. And thanks for listening to me. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat box, or you can raise your hand and we can unmute you. Thank you once again.